UFC Fight Night Fight Island 5 Moraes versus Sandhagen takes place this weekend, and us fight fans appreciate the card so much, not because it has some superstar names on the card, because it doesn't. It has some young talented prospects that we're all looking forward to seeing progress their career. These are the fighters to watch out for this weekend at UFC Fight Island 5. I'm going to start with some of the more important ones, but we're also, because there's so many of them on the card this weekend to cover, we're also going to do a few honourable mentions at the end of the video as well. But starting with some of the key ones that I want to point out to you guys, Tom Aspinall is on the card this weekend, UK's best chance at a heavyweight champion right now, and you don't really have to be anything special to achieve that title in the UK because we have no heavyweights whatsoever, so this is kind of one of the first ones that has really put together some heat in the heavyweight division in the most recent few years. Tom Aspinall coming up strong, just beat Jake Collier, so I don't really want to say coming up strong, but the way he made Jake Collier look. There are some heavyweights on the UFC roster right now that would make a sloppy, messy scrap out of a Jake Collier fight, and Tom Aspinall went out there and made Jake Collier look like Jake Collier. He just destroyed him, and Jake Collier, fair play, is an 11-4 guy, and Tom Aspinall went out there and just completely dismantled him in the first round within 45 seconds. Destroyed him. I've seen hands at the heavyweight division, okay? I've seen guys swing big punches. I've seen big KO finishes, but there was something about the speed of the combination with the knee to the 1-2 that Tom Aspinall landed that you're like, okay, this is a different level of hand speed in the heavyweight division, and we kind of want to see where this is going to go, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to seeing the progression of Tom Aspinall's career. Of course, he trains at Team Calbon with Darren Till, did some work with Tyson Fury in the past, has beaten some decent guys, 6-2, 2-0. It's kind of hard in the UK to find heavyweight talent to scrap off against, to be honest with you. But recently, this is his jump up, 8-1, Alan Baudot. But Alan Baudot has had some, or Baudot, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce his name. He's beaten some good guys as well. 8-1. This is going to be for sure the biggest win of Tom Aspinall's career if he is successful, which I believe that he will be. Alan Baudot is 32 years of age. He's a big guy, don't get me wrong, but some of the guys that he's beaten, they're good. He's beaten a lot of cans. Every single time he's sort of made a jump up in competition, he's suffered massively. He got KO'd by Ulanbekov, who's now a UFC light heavyweight right now, and then he's moving up here again, trying to take on Tom Aspinall. The last time he took a step up, I mean, he's getting his contract in the UFC based on a fight in 2019 in April, which is ages ago now, which is so long ago now, and he lost that fight by rear naked choke, and they overturned that fight because he tested positive for cannabis. I'm going to be picking Tom Aspinall to win this one. I'm looking forward to what he can do next, and if he does win this one, I'd like to see him rebook a match with Sergey Spivak, because that would be the natural progression in the rankings, and this just gives him time to just improve a little bit more in the meantime, but we'll see. Alan Baudot is a dangerous, athletic guy that can swing big punches in the first round. It's the toughest test of his career. I think Tom Aspinall will come through, and I'm looking forward to seeing him perform. I'm going to pick him by first round KO finish relatively quickly, in similar fashion to almost every other one of his fights in his career. And I'll be honest with you as well, one of his only losses in his career to a guy who was 12-5 was because he was whooping the guy so bad he threw some 12-6 elbows in there and got disqualified. Okay, Tom Aspinall's a savage, and I think he's going to go on to do good things. Moving on up the card, another guy that I know people are going to want me to talk about, Youssef Zalal. He's not quite in a big enough fight for me to make an individual video that isn't just going to get 300 views. Okay, so I'm going to include him here as well, because I think if he wins this one, he's going to be looking at fighters' names in the featherweight division that are going to get him that MMA Guru singular video treatment, okay? I'm not promising anything, okay? I'm not doing no charity work, you know what I mean? But Youssef Zalal, I think if he wins this one, he'll be in a position to take on some interesting names, but he's got a tough task ahead of him. Siu Wung Choi was a gimme fight compared to this guy, Ilia Topuria, so it's actually upped the ante a little bit for his fight this weekend. I was looking forward to it, but he was on the prelims for a reason. This guy steps in, Almeida falls off the card, Youssef Zalal's now on the main card. I like it even better, the stakes are higher, there's more on the line now, he'll get a little bit more spotlight if he does win, and his opponent is even more dangerous, 23 years of age. Ilia Topuria coming in here after some savage finishes over some good opponents. Youssef Zalal has also beaten some good opponents as well, 11-3, 18-7, 7-0, upped his game in the last few fights for sure. Definitely seems to be improving, but one thing I'm mainly going to be picking him on in this fight is how active he has been. In 2020, fights in June, I believe that month is. Then he fights again in August, and he fights again now coming back in October. He also fought in February of this year. If he turns around again for Christmas, he'll have 5 fights, maybe 5 wins this year if all goes to to plan. Ilia Topuria is going to be trying to put a stop to that, though. He is a smaller guy. His last weigh-in was at 139 pounds. I don't know if that's specific to his organisation that he used to fight for, but that sounds like he missed weight at bantamweight. Getting a shot in the UFC after missing weight, potentially, but I'm not actually too sure. Maybe they just had a catch weight bout or something like that. Who knows? But still, he's a good fighter. He's undefeated. He's 23. And I think it's just a little bit too short notice for a guy who hasn't fought in 2020. He hasn't fought since November of 2019, and now you're just going to be ready to jump in and beat Youssef Zalal. I think he's good. On full camp, I actually mentioned that I might even try and pick him, but Youssef Zalal is just a little bit too quick on his feet in the first round, and Ilia Topuria is a very explosive man. I've got something in my mouth. What is that in my mouth? Fuck off. Jesus Christ, interrupting my fucking... Ah, fuck! I've lost motion. Let me think. Let me just run some laps in my mind real quick and get right back to where I was. On short notice, Ilia Topuria is not going to be able to go out there and destroy Youssef Zalal in the first round. I don't see it happening. And Youssef Zalal puts a good pace on guys, and he's a small guy for featherweight. So I think if he gets past the initial storm, which I think his movement will allow him to do, he'll pick back up in the second and third round and try and get the job done there. I don't see him finishing it, but I could see him earning himself a third round decision, of course. 29-28 overall to Yusuf Zalal. I just think he's going to pick up the pace later on in the fight, and it's going to be a little bit too much to a fast starter in Ilia Topuria and a guy who's taking the fight on short notice as well. Watch out for Yusuf Zalal, the Moroccan devil. Moving on up the card, Impa Kasanganay, down the card even, it's on the prelims. Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley takes place on the prelims. I'm telling you guys to watch out for Impa Kasanganay. I picked Maki Pitolo to beat him because I was not impressed by his performance on the Contender Series. Looking back, the guy was 8-1. He's not a slouch, and Impa Kasanganay went out there and got the job done. I picked Maki Pitolo, as I said, and Impa Kasanganay went out there on short notice, took a fight against Maki Pitolo that got made relatively quickly after his Contender Series bout, and he's got good momentum. I think that momentum and activity is key to success in the UFC. If you look at all of the guys that have streaked their way straight to the top, they all have one thing in common. They do it really fast. Look what Khamzat Chimaev is trying to do right now. Israel Adesanya succeeding in it as well. There was a time when Conor McGregor was fighting 4 times a year on his rise up the top until he had injuries or something that held him back. And even if he did have injuries, he made sure to stay active. That's the key, and I think a lot of these fighters on tonight's card and all of the ones I've mentioned so far in Tom Aspinall, Youssef Zalal and Impa Kasanganay seem to share that same theme in their career. They want to get back in there every single time and beat someone else, and Joaquin Buckley, he's getting back in there in the wrong way. Impa Kasanganay's had good wins. You can get back in there, good sir. You haven't taken too much damage, you've taken some hits, don't get me wrong. Maki Pitolo fight was competitive, and so was his fight on the Contender Series in the first round. But he's getting back in there. He hasn't taken concussive damage. Joaquin Buckley got KO'd twice 2 months ago. That's a KO a month. I don't like that. He's got a KO per month ratio right now over the past 2 months. That's not right, okay? And I think he's going to be I think he's going to be raising that ratio even more when he faces off against Impa Kasanganay. Although I don't see him getting finished. I see him just getting stung in the first round, realising what a mistake he's made. And then Impa Kasanganay taking over in the second and third round. Impa Kasanganay's got a good technique. He keeps his chin down. We really didn't know too much about him before he got to the Contender Series. He beat a guy who was 4-0. That was it. He won a split decision against a guy who was 4-3. Those were his last 2 performances before the Contender Series. So we hadn't really seen him step up in competition. But since he has stepped up, he seems to be one of the guys, you know, some of those guys, they just raise their level of performance to the level of competition that they're put up against and do just enough to win. So it's hard to tell exactly where they're at, but so far, he's done enough to win, and I think he'll do enough to win against Buckley, winning the last 2 rounds. 29-28, Impa Kasanganay gets the job done, unanimous decision. I'm looking forward to his rise, and if he wins this one, there's big things on the horizon. Youssef Zalal, also, if he wins this fight this weekend, maybe he should take on a guy like, I don't know, actually. I really don't know. Maybe I don't even know. An Alex Caceres might be a fun little in-the-middle fight for him if he wants to take a jump up. There's always Grant Dawson. I don't know if that one's going to be a smart business move, but there's some interesting matchups to make. And Impa Kasanganay, of course, as well. Very, very dangerous. And if he wins this fight this weekend, which I believe he will, and remains undefeated, which would be glorious to have in the middleweight division right now, I think he could be looking at names like Zach. I don't even know who he could be looking at, to be honest with you guys. There's a lot of names right now in the middleweight division that need their jump up the rankings. maybe we could be looking at Impa Kasanganay versus Kevin Holland. I could actually see that happening. If Impa Kasanganay gets on the mic, didn't he call out Kevin Holland not too long ago as well? I could really see that happening. Impa Kasanganay versus Kevin Holland might happen later on in the year because both of them like to stay active and not a lot of the top guys like to stay active right now in the sport. So yeah, I could really see that happening and I look forward to it. And I believe Zach Cummings as well is probably going to be down to fight. He seems to be down to fight anyone who's an up-and-comer. He just beat Alessio De Chirico in the middleweight division. I mean, yeah, it's a good division to be in right now for Impa Kasanganay. Moving on to my honourable mentions on the card that aren't going to get the same amount of time, but I'm going to cram them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give them the time. What am I talking about? Honourable mentions. Omar Morales is a dangerous fighter. We'll make this video longer. I don't care. I'll go for 20 minutes. Who cares? Omar Morales, dangerous guy, undefeated guy, 9-0, currently 10-0 actually, 9-0 in his last performance. He got a win against Gabriel Benitez, now currently 10-0 going into a fight against Giga Chikadze. Everyone knows who Giga Chikadze is now. He's the meme of the Can Man. He's the Can Man himself, Giga Chikadze, the Can Crusher. He's kind of got the most padded record in MMA right now in modern history. There are some who could challenge that, no doubt, I'm sure, but Giga Chikadze, 2-31. Like, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate that they're still wins, and I'm not just going to disregard him and say just because he's only beaten bad guys, he can therefore not jump ahead and beat really good guys. But Brandon Davis was 10-7 and he won a split decision. Brandon Davis is a bantamweight, okay? Omar Morales is a dangerous, dangerous man, and he's a lightweight. Okay, and that's very important to take into consideration. Brandon Davis is a bantamweight that's 10-7 that took Giga Chikadze to a split decision. That needs to be mentioned, okay? Erwin Rivera is now currently a bantamweight that took Giga Chikadze to a competitive decision. This one's at featherweight. Omar Morales will be moving down. I think he'll have a notable strength advantage. I think he'd even take advantage of this fight in the clinch or the takedowns as well. He's got a well-rounded game and he's beaten good opponents so far and he's made it look better than Giga Chikadze has. Both of them stepped up in competition recently, but Giga Chikadze made it look closer against Jamal Emmers. Again, a smaller guy. I think right now he's fighting at bantamweight. I think he actually might be in the featherweight division right now. I'm not actually sure. I think he is a featherweight. Yes, he is. But still, big guy, don't get me wrong, but a split decision. And that was Jamal Emmers, again, taking the fight on short notice. Erwin Rivera was on short notice, and that was kind of competitive. Even though he won the fight clearly, don't get me wrong, it's just not a good look. And I think that Giga Chikadze, this K1 phenom, this kickboxing monster that's coming over to the UFC, is going to be in with some problems against a big guy like Omar Morales coming down to show him the ropes. And I think Omar Morales is going to get the job done in spectacular fashion. And if he wins this one, there are good fights to make. Maybe we could even make Youssef Zalal versus Omar Morales. Who knows? If they're both going to be winning a fight at featherweight this weekend, that could actually be a really cool thing that might happen. That would be actually amazing. Youssef Zalal versus Omar Morales, I'd watch that one, and the winner of that one would get a much bigger jump up. Maybe we could do something like that if they're both looking for a quick turnaround. We will see if Omar Morales can keep on Youssef Zalal's pacing of accepting fight ratio. It's crazy. But another person to mention on the card, Omar Morales is dangerous. I think he wins. Tagir Ulanbekov, flyweight prospect in the making. I can't wait for his debut in the UFC. We always need flyweights, and it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel safe when they sign a flyweight to the UFC, because every day I worry I'm going to hear the news that, oh, Garbrandt's out, flyweight division's cancelled, we're getting rid of it. Like, I worry sometimes. So to see them still signing UFC flyweights, it makes me feel safe that they're going to continue with the division, because I like the flyweight division. I've come to be quite fond of it, and I've come to root for the flyweight division. Tagir Ulanbekov, dangerous guy coming into the UFC, young prospect. He's very, very dangerous. He's on a 3-win streak right now. Last loss was a majority decision loss to Zalgas Magulov, close as it gets. And Zalgas Magulov is a guy who came in to the UFC on reasonably short notice and arguably beat Howley and Paver, even though they gave the decision to Paver. Still, Zamagulov's a beast. Tagir Ulanbekov's a beast as well. He's beaten good opponents, 15-2, 13-3. Flyweights have some good records though, but these are some good flyweights to be fair. 9-2, 20-7, 4-0, 8-1, 4-2. Like, he's 4-2 maybe shouldn't have been mentioned as much, but still, he's beat some really good guys. He's very dangerous, and he's finishing them in good fashion as well. Tagir Ulanbekov, member of Team Khabib, the #1 ranked flyweight out of Russia, the #1 ranked flyweight out of Kazakhstan, the #1 ranked flyweight out of Asia Central. I mean, How many more number one spots does he need? Other than the number one flyweight in the world as UFC champion, that's what he's going for. And I think he's going to win his fight this weekend against Bruno Silva, who's lost his last few fights in the UFC, 10-5. It feels weird, and it should not be this way. And I don't know how it is this way. The UFC flyweight division needs flyweights, right? And it acts like there aren't many flyweights around. Tagir Ulanbekov's last 3 opponents all have better records than Bruno Silva, and none of them are signed to the UFC. So clearly there's flyweights out there that are really good. Why are they not signed to the UFC? It doesn't make any sense why someone has to go 15-2 at a flyweight division that needs people right now, that has the same amount of people as the women's flyweight division as well, by the way. Yet they funnel it in 3-2 women's flyweights because they happen to have a neutral record, God forbid, they get in the UFC, but 15-2 men's flyweights don't even fucking get a look in. It doesn't make any sense, but still, I think Tagir Ulanbekov's going to make a statement against Bruno Silva. I like Bruno Silva. He's 10-5 for a reason. He's lost to a lot of guys that he definitely should have been able to beat, and he hasn't really beaten too many good guys either in the flyweight rankings regionally either, to be honest with you. Hasn't won a single fight in the UFC, lost 2 in a row, still somehow around. I guess he's going to make Tagir Ulanbekov look really good, but who knows? Trevin Jones beats that other guy, Tagir Ulanbekov. No, that's not his name. Who was the guy's name? Trevin Jones. I need to find out right now. I need to find out who he beat. Timo Valiev. I don't even have to find out. I take it back. I didn't even Google search anything. I Google searched something, but I didn't even have to go on his record. It was Timo Valiev. We know. I was right. I'm safe. Tagir Ulanbekov, someone to watch out for. And also on the card, one more short notice guy who's stepping in. Dricus du Plessis, Matt. South African, Matt. Number 1 ranked middleweight out of South Africa right now, which is actually a really cool thing. I like it. Very nice. I'm sure he's going to have a unique accent on the microphone. I can't wait to hear him talk, Matt. It's going to be interesting. I like it. And he's also number 4 ranked middleweight out of the UK and Ireland. Very dangerous. Beat some good guys. 3-0, 30-7, 13-2, 8-1, 7-2. 11-4, 9, and we won't mention that one. There was 6 afterwards. That's not a good record, but still, he's beaten good guys in his career. He's lost a fight to Roberto Soldic, who was 13-3 at the time. Fair play. We all lose fights. He's strung together 2 in a row. Now he's taken on Marcus Perez on short notice. I think he actually is going to get a jump on Marcus Perez, and the odds makers agree with me because he's actually very good when you watch him. He's very good and very technical, and Marcus Perez has been an absolute letdown of a prospect because he was very old when he came into the UFC, but it just seems time and time again he just has terrible performances where it's like he's not even trying. So I'm not going to be picking Marcus Perez to win. Okay, I'm picking Dricus du Plessis. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Those are the fighters to watch out for. I hope I gave them all adequate time. I don't know why this is so high up. I'm actually going to lower it a tiny bit for the end. So there you go. You actually get a good camera angle for the past 5 seconds of the video. Like and subscribe. Click that button there. Goodbye. I'll see you later. Watch out for those fighters on the card. Toodle pit.